Good morning, good evening, and good night, everybody, and welcome to the Android Central podcast. My name is Nick Sutrick, and I'll be hosting the podcast in Ara's stead this week as she takes some well-earned time off. Last week, we brought you a scintillating roundtable filled with names of yore, and this week, two bright shining faces, or voices, I suppose, join us. Both Chris and Andrew are freelancers on the site, so without further ado, Chris Waddell, say hi to everybody.
Hello, hello.
And Andrew Myrick, so glad to have you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course. And of course, last but not least, especially in my heart, is Jerry Hildenbrand.
Hey, I'm least. Let's get that straight. I am least.
I mean, you were at the end, so it's okay. It happens.
I'm only here because I'm pretty.
Indeed. Especially that beard. All right. So this week we'll be talking about Samsung, Motorola for some reason, some more Pixel 6 issues, surprise, surprise, I guess, and the love being shown to older devices that many of us are still using, which is always nice to see. So, Chris, I wanted to start off with your Galaxy Buds Pro editorial where you talked about how they were infectious in all the wrong ways. Do you want to just sort of highlight that for us and kind of give us an overview of what that's about?
Yeah. This was very much a love-hate thing with another Samsung product. Unfortunately, kind of like back with my breakup with the Galaxy Watch 4 that I had. So the story is I've been using the original Samsung Galaxy Buds since it came out a couple years back. After using a bunch of random no-name earbuds, picked up those, loved them. They've been great, but I didn't have a huge reason to upgrade them since I got them because they worked. They did fine. The ambient mode was so-so, but it was fine. But it had been a couple years, and the Galaxy Buds Pro were getting so much praise, and they were, great sound, and the ANC would be nice and everything. So I was like, we'll give them a shot. I'll pick them up. I'll get them when I get my this with some Samsung credit or whatever that I had online. So I used that to get some Buds Pro and try those out. So I picked them up. Everything was great. Open up. I got the awesome Phantom Purple for a little something different. Paired them up with my Galaxy Z Fold 2 at the time. Listened to a couple songs, tweaked some of the settings, get them kind of how I wanted. Maybe 15 minutes of use, and decided, okay, it's good. That's great. I got stuff to do. Done playing. So I put them away. By the end of the day, I kind of a little itchy in my ear and didn't think much of it. It was, spring-ish coming into summer when I just had gotten them. So I have some seasonal allergies that come around, hay fever and, pollen and things like that. So I didn't think much of it. I was like, maybe it's just part of that.
Right.
Let it roll on. And it kept getting worse and worse. And so I went a while, and I talked to some friends that had dealt with similar, I knew had some ear problems. They're like, use, if you don't put anything in your ears, leave them clean, if you can bear it, maybe a little bit of vinegar, rubbing alcohol, kind of mix that, dilute a little bit of water, and kind of swish it around, and that'll help clear it out. It burned like crazy, but I did it and let it go for about a week, and it cleared up. Well, the next time I used them was for a meeting, video chat, and I had them in for maybe 30 minutes. And by the end of the day, it was almost like I picked up halfway through the last round of issues from the week prior, and it just kept getting worse and worse. And I was like, this is really weird. And I was like, again, I'm going to chalk it up to the situation of allergies. Now, mind you, I left out that when as soon as I got the earbuds, I washed them with alcohol swabs, cleaned out the inside. I even popped them into my phone soap UV, disinfector thing. Coming from the factory, gonna stick something in your ears. It makes a good idea to go ahead and clean that before you do it, because you know what's on it from the factory, or, whatnot. So after the second round of using them for a short period of time, it got bad, ear infection, or just irritation. It wasn't an infection that I would call it this time. It was just an irritation. So I let it go, got it cleared up. And then sure enough, I decided to just do one earbud. Didn't put both of them in, just put the left earbud in, did the call. Everything was great. Got done about 15, 20 minutes, took them out. And by that night, it was my whole left side of my head was hurting, and my right ear was fine. So at this point, I'm like, okay, there's obviously something with the earbuds. And so I decided to start digging around, doing some investigating on my own, and came to find that some other people had some similar problems. But by the next morning, my ear was nearly swollen shut. Like I couldn't put a Q-tip in it, and if I wanted to, and it was crusty and all gross and everything. So I went to the doctor, and they gave me some prescription ear drops put in an oral antibiotic, and that was sometime in the morning. By that evening, obviously I hadn't had a whole lot of time for the medications to take over, but it escalated quickly. And I had I had a high fever and everything, and it ended up taking me the better part of a week to get that cleared up with the medications and everything. And it was not good at all. And then unfortunately, so I'd stopped using them entirely. I was like, this is obviously an earbud thing. Stopped using them, and I'd never had a history of ear problems. So the fact that I was having this just and started using these kind of tipped me off a little bit. And so I did a little of my own research and kind of watched it for a while, and decided that when I got my Z Fold 3, I'd pick up the Buds 2, Galaxy Buds 2, because I enjoyed the quality, the sound quality, and the fit of the Buds Pro. I was like, maybe it's just those, and like the Buds 2, it's not the Pro. Maybe it's a different material. And so I tried those out, and unfortunately, I had the exact same experience. So did a little bit of digging and reached out to some people, and come to find out that I'm not the only person having the problem.
I'm just like dumbfounded
What do
listening
you
to this.
say? It's
Yeah.
What?
I wish I could.
Go ahead, Chris. This is
Yeah,
we want to hear from you.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm like, I'd never had, like I said, I've never had ear infection, ear problems, anything like that. I'm sure I did when I was a baby. My kids have both had. Well, my oldest had the most. He had a bunch of ear problems growing up. We've done 2 sets of tubes, had the adenoids removed for parents who've had to deal with that with their kids. It's not a fun thing to deal with, and did that with both of them. And then even January of 2020, a hole that was in his eardrum hadn't healed up. So we took him to the ear doctor. They did a surgery on his ear, and we talked to the ear specialist there. And that's kind of where we'd found out about the vinegar and alcohol drops. So I was like, ooh, I'm going to try that. Maybe that some weird pollen bug or something got in my ears was causing this. And so I'll use his trick to get rid of it. And it's just so strange. I've never dealt with that. And when I started piecing together, I'm like, it's only in the ear that I put the earbud in.
Yeah.
And the more I thought through it, I was like, this is strange. And I started finding small reports here and there, and a couple of threads on Reddit, and some reports from overseas. And it just kind of started building. Then the longer it went on, and then when I started tying it to the Buds 2 as well, I could, it was like, okay, there's obviously something going on here. And that's when I reached out to Samsung, and I was like, look, hey, I need some help here. Here's what's going on. And obviously they didn't outright say, yes, there's an issue with the earbuds, because they wouldn't do that. But it was telling when I looked on the message boards and saw a lot of people through the Samsung community boards. And when their moderators would say, hey, if you're experiencing this, click this link, go straight to a specialist. I'm like, well, that's strange. Why not just outwardly say, hey, this is a problem? And so when I sent Samsung my medical records, showing I went to the doctor, here's the prescriptions it gave me. I had taken photos of my ear because it was swollen crazy, and I wanted to see how big this thing was swelled up. And, so I happened to have that stuff. So I sent it off to them, and when they didn't, as soon as I sent it to them, they didn't balk at all. They refunded me, told me they'd have their labs examine it. And when I asked, will I find out? And they said, like I'd put in the article, I'd said this, they basically said this is it's a common enough of an issue. If they find that to be true, that information will be sent out, but to keep it on the website.
So do you think it's the like the little silicone part that helps it stay in your ear, or do you think it's actually like the plastic material in the earbud itself?
I lean towards it's the plastic part of the earbud. It's either the plastic and or the contacts for the charging points. The reason I say this is because that was one of the first things I thought it was. It could be the ear tips. So I swapped those out. I got some third-party ear tips, tried them out. And again, I have zero material allergies, that I know of anyways. I've never had problems with silicone or latex or vinyl or any of that kind of stuff. And the nickel part, which is what some of the people were leaning towards, and some of the reports and other articles I'd read, has suggested this potentially a nickel alloy that's in the contacts for the earbuds. That could be, the ears are a sensitive skin. It's a thinner skin. It's gonna react differently than other parts of your body to different materials. My wife has a bad nickel allergy, and her earrings that she'll wear. But it's strange. Like I have a degree in metalsmithing and jewelry making, and so I worked with a lot of nickel, silver, and nickel and different metals going through college, and never once had any sort of reaction. And I was in a room full of people tinning, hammering, heating up, pickling, all these different things. Never had a problem. So it could be I lean towards it's either the nickel in the charging contacts or the plastic that they use. Is a word I'm going to butcher, acetate. I don't know. It's different than what I'd found on the original Galaxy Buds used in acrylic rather than this other blend of plastics that it could have a play there as well.
You know what? I think, and this is just me, the whole backstory here. I bought a pair for my wife at the same time Chris got his. And after hearing what Chris was going through way back when this first started, I'm like, uh-oh. So I mentioned it to my wife, and she noticed that, yeah, if she wears them all day, her ears get itchy and just feel it very uncomfortable. I think that's just because in my wife's case, she said they seem to fit tighter than all the other earbuds she's tried, which would trap more moisture and put more pressure there. So maybe it's that in conjunction with the material.
And I thought that too. Like it was, it's like they do fit. They seem to have. When I compare them, sitting there looking at I don't have my Galaxy Buds Pro anymore because I sent those off. But looking at them compared to some of the other earbuds, even the Galaxy Buds original, yeah, the Buds Pro and the Buds 2 seem to have a longer stem that reaches further into the ear canal. But the weird thing is that my one, aside from the shorter time I was wearing them rather than like an all day, which would make more sense to me. The irritation starts on the outside part of the ear, like where the touch controls would be, like just inside of those where the matte plastic is, rather than on the inside. So the ear infection I ended up with from the doctor was an outer ear infection, so it wasn't behind the eardrum, it was an outside of that. But the irritation, the itching and stuff like that starts on the part, not where the stem would go into the canal itself.
You know what baffles me the most is, I'm not a businessman. Hell, I tried my hand at a small business and ran it into the ground and lost all my money quickly. So I'm not going to say I make the right decisions, but if I was Samsung, I would have done anything in my power to find out what's wrong and get it fixed, so I don't have X percentage of the people who buy my product getting ear infections. The way Samsung handled this really baffles me. It's
a little strange.
I mean, I give him credit for at least, for willing to work with me as far as getting refunded. And not once in this that of course I kept it all. It's just me as a person, as a consumer. I want this fixed.
Yeah.
It's strange. I appreciate that they did that, but I'd seen reports, different people on Reddit, and throughout Samsung's community thread talking about how I didn't have, pictures of my ear, or I wasn't able, I couldn't find a report from my doctor or something I could prove they didn't like what I had. And so Samsung isn't going to help me out. I was lucky that I just happened to document that stuff, was able to get taken care of. So some people aren't going to get refunded. In some cases, some people are getting refunded for the product, as well as any current incurred fees from the doctor's office and stuff.
And I do want to say another thing. You've probably read about this on either our site or any of the other tech news sites out there, and you may have went into the comments and seen a lot of garbage. Chris, don't do that. Just don't. So I want to get in front of this. I'm going to tell you, I know Chris. Chris, you probably used 100 different pairs of earbuds, and you know that earbuds can cause irritation.
Oh, yeah.
This isn't that. Chris is also a very healthy outdoorsman, tough guy. He alluded to it. He does metalworking. He's not somebody who stays in the basement and is sick all the time. Chris is a healthy young man who knows that earbuds can inflame your ears if you don't do it right or wear them too long, let them get dirty, whatever. None of that applies here. Third, Chris is a Samsung fan, a big Samsung fan. So this isn't a hit piece against Samsung. This is a horrible story of a product that caused a medical issue with somebody who really wanted to use it. And that's all it is.
Yeah. It's as much of a documentation of a personal experience and a PSA is of anything. I've had so many people message me through Twitter, and I did go through the comments of the article, and a few of them made me chuckle just how asinine they were. But it's crazy to me how many people have come out and just said, "Oh my goodness, like I've been wondering for how long, like what's causing this problem, and I've been using these, and maybe that's the problem." And so hopefully if that people are having these same issues, they can this will at least give them some information, some direction to help get something solved and maybe get retribution for their product. I'm not talking suing Samsung, but though there is a class action lawsuit out there for this thing. But just at least get your money back for your product, if nothing else.
And to be clear, we and Chris didn't have anything to do with starting a class action lawsuit.
Oh,
so
no.
you can bury that dumb idea too. This wasn't us. These are other people who had the same issues.
Yeah, that was just a bit of information that when I came across it of how widespread this was, I'm like, well, goodness, this is way bigger than just, my dumb self out here using some earbuds and happen to have a weird reaction to them.
I wonder on the charging contacts part, how many other earbuds have contacts in a similar place? Because I'm looking at pictures of these and they're like right on the inside, probably where your skin would touch.
Yeah, and I looked at my earlier as we had our weekly call today, and I've been using since I dropped my Buds Pro and sent them back in the Buds 2. I typically just grab my old Samsung Galaxy Buds because they're still connected to my computer and they work. So I just grab them, pop them in. I know they don't cause me problems. But before I looked at them today, I did take an extra second to look at the contacts just to see it. And they seem to be slightly more inset than the ones on the Buds Pro. I know I didn't compare. I can take a quick look. I got some skull candy ones here, and they're a gold tip rather than silver, so they could be some kind of of a brass tinned type of material or something. So I don't know. Most of the ones I'm looking at here all have more of a gold. It could be gold, it could be brass, it could be any number of materials, including the high dollar Sony, whatever that long name is.
Yeah, good luck with Sony's model numbers.
WTF X3, whatever.
That's pretty much it.
WF1000 XM4s. Even those use a gold plating on their contact tip. So it could be, it could be the contacts using a nickel coating on them, which is one of the theories. The other could be the plastics. The old Galaxy Buds that I have used for the last few years now have the silver. I don't know if it's nickel or some other alloy on the contacts for those. It has the same color. They do seem to be slightly more inset, but it also isn't a matte plastic, and it's an acrylic base from what I could find, rather than the new acrylate or whatever the plastic is they use on the Buds Pro and Buds 2.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a couple of pairs of wireless earbuds. I've never run into this either. I'm not exactly I would say as much of an expert on it as maybe you are, because I just haven't used as many. But I know that the worst thing I've ever had happen is, maybe they're tight, and after a while my ears get irritated from them being in there, but that's about it. So I don't know.
I kind of wish I'd have thought about this before. It popped in my mind actually while I was writing up the article. Is I've seen some different things, whether they're earbuds or other devices, where you can get a silicone like sleeve for it. I'd be curious to see if there's some way to cover that up. Like if I was to be able to get some kind of silicone or material to cover that plastic part up, and so it's just the silicone ear tip in my ear, and the rest of the earbud was covered up. And if I could wear that, and if I would get a reaction or not, so that would kind of help focus that a little bit more, I guess.
I appreciate that you want to do that, and I'm sure everybody does. Don't do it. Just write those off. Don't ever put those in your ear again.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's, out of all the theories out there, including the one I said earlier, I think nickel is probably it. I mean, you said you work with nickel. Nickel's a very popular way or coating for, electrical contacts, because it's almost as good as gold and it's 100 times cheaper. It's corrosion resistant, but it can be affected by moisture, and human sweat can be weird, and You mix those two things together, there's no telling what it can do to the sensitive skin, in the inside of your ear. Not necessarily down in the canal, but the inside of your ear, inside the little whorls where they touch. That's just that makes the most sense. I know a lot of people are really sensitive to nickel. Maybe Samsung can just revamp that. Charge $20 more and put gold contacts in it, and nobody will get ear infections from the contacts.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know. It's strange to me. Like I really didn't want it to be. I didn't want it to be me, but I really didn't want it to be the earbuds because I liked them. They were comfortable. They sounded great. I was excited to use them, and then the buds too. And I tried to replace them with those, and at every turn, everything just kept pointing to it's the things you're sticking in your ears. It's these earbuds.
Right. And this actually reminds me a bit of what Facebook, I guess, at the time went through with the Quest 2 recall. I think that started in late July, and then it was most of August, essentially. And I think there was something like 5,000 or 6,000 reports in the US of people having, pretty extreme skin irritation from that foam. And it's funny because it's like, you think about our phones, right? A phone touches your hand, goes in your pocket. It doesn't, the most it touches your skin normally, aside from your hand, would be your face. And that's just glass. So I guess as long as the coating isn't irritating, there's not really any risk of a phone causing a problem like this. Whereas earbuds, VR headsets, stuff like that, it comes in a lot more contact with you for a lot longer term. And it's
watch bands is another one.
Right, watch bands, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, I see stuff come with watch bands. My youngest he's got pretty sensitive skin. We do a little bit of eczema here and there, and he's got a little Garmin Vivo Fit Junior 3 fitness tracker thing that he loves to play with and wear around. And we've swapped the bands a few times, and they're just silicone. But after a few days, like he'll get some irritation, and I know just adults and individuals that'll have problems with their watch bands, and sometimes it's the material of the band itself, and other times, kind of going back to the earbuds with the nickel coating, it's a coating that's used on all sorts of stuff, from all kinds of jewelry, which includes watch band clasps.
Yep.
They'll coat that stuff with the nickel because it looks just as nice as stainless steel or sterling silver or something like that, but it's again way cheaper, but it has the allergic properties to it.
I don't know. Wearables are definitely an interesting thing, especially for manufacturers to figure out, just because there are so many things that people are allergic to. I mean, like, my son has gone through several bouts of being allergic to gluten, sort of not allergic to gluten. Like, we have dairy issues. Like, I think of all sorts of crazy things that people have to deal with. And I don't know. I'm just hoping that, you can find a better pair. I guess you already have your old ones, right? And then hopefully they could figure this out so this doesn't happen again, because it's bizarre and terrible at the same time.
Yeah, it is big of a company as Samsung is, and I'm sure as much testing as they do, they're a business, and they're trying to produce the best product as cheaply as they can and make as many people happy at the same time as they can. But it could be maybe just an extra step to take into consideration the materials they're using and the widespread allergic potential for some people. If nickel was the case, or the other plastic, it could be.
Yeah, that's another thing. I get it. There is an acceptable number here that maybe 2% of the people who buy this product are going to have a reaction to it. And that's okay with Samsung. That means that 98% of the people will be happy with it.
Right.
But you can't just write off that 2%. There needs to be a warning on the package. And I think I shared it with you, Chris, and you found something online. There is kind of a warning in the manual about it. They could cause irritation. But it sounds more like they mean the regular irritation that any earbuds can cause if you put them in dirty or leave them in too long. But that's what I would love to see from Samsung. Right on the outside of the package and on the website where you order them, that this product contains this, this, and this, and it has been shown to cause issues in a small number of users. So if you have sensitive skin or think you may be, suspect to a reaction, here are other products that don't contain these materials that we think you'll like. That would make me so happy to see, and that would make Samsung the good guy in this case.
Sure.
Shrugging your shoulders and having secret committees that deal with it instead of dealing with it out in the open does not make me happy.
No, and just this just for grins, I did a quick Google on how common nickel allergies are. The American Academy of Dermatology says more than 18% of people in North America have an allergic reaction to nickel.
Oh,
So,
wow.
For just, if something as simple as a watch band or, anything that's touching your skin for an extended period of time, if there's that high of a percentage, it's maybe something you stick in your ear for a sensitive skin, like your ear. People aren't going to put it in for a song and take it out. Like, 30 minutes of a quick call or, a workout or, an all day, keep me focused on what I'm supposed to do. And I'm listening to, chants or something. That maybe not use that material.
Yeah, scratch what I said. That's just dumb. Nickel is fine on the points in my old truck because I'm not putting them in my ear.
Right.
But 18%,
I didn't realize it was
I had
that
no
high.
idea. Yeah.
Whew, wow. Yeah, I would say if nothing, if you are experiencing some sort of irritation with a thing you are wearing, take it seriously.
Definitely.
Don't just shrug it off and say maybe it's something else. I think what Chris did to test it was smart, and as soon as you figured it out, I was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm not using these anymore, and that was great. So
definitely gave me a whole new appreciation for all the pain when my oldest was going through ear infections when he was 1, 2, 3 years old. Screaming baby, it hurts. It's the worst thing he's ever experienced. He's a baby.
Right.
Yeah, I got it when I was 39 years old, and it hurt really bad.
Yeah, and it's a sensitive part of your body too. It sucks. I had ear infections all the time when I was a kid. I do not miss them.
Yeah, I'm glad it cleared up, and I hope that this doesn't cause you to be more susceptible to ear infections in the future, because it could.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing.
Yeah, could go ahead and raise or increase the chance of reactions to other materials that I wouldn't have before because this decided to amp it up. I don't know. We'll see. So far it's been good. I've been irritation free for the last couple of months, so hopefully it continues.
But anyway, if you take nothing else away from this, keep your earbuds clean, people.
Boom.
For
there
sure.
you go.
Because this can happen to you with any earbuds if you let them get all gunky and nasty.
Yes.
Unfortunately with the Buds 2 and the Buds, well, I don't want to say the wrong one. It was the Buds Pro and the 2.
Yeah.
It seems like it can be caused even when they're clean, and that's just not good.
I just love that sound. It means I've given in to temptation and bought another snug, snarky shirt or bought more vintage stoneware for my kitchen through Shopify. Shopify gives entrepreneurs the resources once reserved for big businesses, so upstarts, startups, and established businesses alike can sell everywhere and can scale your business from startup to powerhouse. I love how Shopify has the tools and resources that make it easy for any business to succeed, from down the street to around the globe. It means that when I come across a site that I maybe haven't heard of before, because it's powered by Shopify, I already have a login and my info is already saved. Even better, Shopify stores can enable Google Pay on their site, turning your retail therapy into one-click happiness and enabling me to go on a spree at Sockology for new knee-high socks. After all, winter is coming. Shopify powers over 1.7 million businesses, from first sale to full scale, allowing you to reach customers across social networks with an ever-growing suite of integrations and apps. More than a store, Shopify grows with you, giving insights and detailed reporting of conversion rates, profit margins, and more. This is Possibility powered by Shopify. Go to shopify.com/ACP, all lowercase, for a free 14-day trial and get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business with Shopify today. Go to shopify.com/ACP right now. Shopify.com/ACP.
Okay, so from one bizarre thing to another completely different bizarre thing. So apparently Motorola is now the number 3 manufacturer of phones in the US. This is going by, I believe, units shipped, although, all these different research companies use different metrics on how they track this market share data. But in any case, Motorola has been really pushing this line about how they're number 3 now. They have other data to back it up. So whatever you're going by, they're number 3 now, right behind, well, not really right behind, about half or slightly less than Samsung's numbers. And then, of course, Apple is number 1 in the US and has been for a while. But it's interesting how Motorola got here. I don't know, have you all used a Motorola phone recently?
Hell no, I ain't giving them a penny.
Nope, but I have one coming to me soon.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Can you talk about which one or no?
No.
Okay, all right. I figured I'd ask.
Partially because I can't remember, but partially because I don't know if I can or not. So I'm just going to go no.
Yeah, so that's part of the issue, right? All right, so this year in 2021, Motorola, at least in the US, has only released either entry-level or mid-range phones. The Edge sort of teeters on the edge of mid-range and premium, I suppose, just depending on which spec you look at. But for the most part, it's considered a mid-range phone. And I would say with most of these models, you could probably realistically find another phone that is either the same price or thereabouts that is better than most of Motorola's offerings. One of the issues that they've had for some time are updates, right? I think pretty much all of their phones that launched this year either launched with an older version of Android, or even if it launched with the most current version, they only said you're going to get, maybe Android 12. Like the Moto G Power, the second one this year that just came out, just launched with Android 11. It's getting Android 12 at some point, probably at this time next year, to be honest. And then it's going to get, I think they're at 2 years of security updates for most of their phones now. Some of them are a little bit better than that, which isn't too bad. I'll at least give them that. It's nice to see improvement on that front because I think there were several years.
Is that updates every 90 days for 2 years or one update 2 years later?
Right, and that's it. I don't know. I mean, they can promise all they want, at least on the Edge, right? They said quarterly. So that would be every 3 months, right? Whatever. Which isn't too bad. That's fine. I mean,
that's good enough. It's not perfect, but it's good enough.
And I feel like that's been sort of the mantra with most of these phones, really. They're, in many cases, good enough for a $200 phone, for a $250 phone. They're not going to make you smile when you use them. They might make you want to throw them against the wall. But for the most part, they work. And it's interesting to see how many of the factors played into their success. And really, I feel like none of them involved anything that Motorola actually did. So you had, and that's the funny thing, right? Yeah, go ahead.
Motorola moved up and they sell more phones and they make worse products. Remember the original Moto G? I know you were around, Nick. That was a nice little phone for $200. I recommended that phone to everyone. I mean, don't spend, this is funny, $500 on a flagship phone. That's too much money. Buy this one for $200. And the phones they make today are worse in every way.
Right.
It almost seems like this might sound really, really cruddy of me to say about them, but Motorola used to be one of the companies that everybody loved. They kind of really kickstarted the boom for Android with the original Moto Droid, and they did a lot of great things. But it kind of feels like lately they're basically a glorified white label phones, at least in the US. Like they're products that they produce. Like if Blue made the phone that Motorola made,
you wouldn't even blink. You would be like, yeah, it's a Blue phone.
Right. It's because it says Motorola on the back that they've got that gravitas. And it's like, and Nick, I'm looking at your article right here, and it says Motorola believes it's a brand that people have a deep emotional attachment to. And I know, and it says it's working to keep people guessing what's coming down the pike. I'm not sure that's a good thing for Motorola, because we keep guessing is like, are you going to release something good?
Right. Or
are you going to release another phone that you're going to release and then say, we'll give you a couple of updates over the next 2 years and, good luck. But hey, you only spent $200.
Right.
And, I'm a big, I really like seeing security updates because, I don't know, not that I think I'm going to get hacked. I think that's just how I'm wired inside. But bug fixes too. You ship a phone that has a bug in it, and you don't update that phone to fix that bug until 9 months later. That's bad. That's really bad. The old Motorola would have never done that. You mentioned the Droid. Man, if they had found a bug in the Droid, Verizon and Motorola would have jumped on it, and 2 weeks later, you'd got a fix for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they definitely, and I think that is one thing they have going for them is their reputation over the years. I mean, 20 years ago, they built bricks that made phone calls. You couldn't destroy them, right? Like, everybody remembers that. It's like Nokia. It's the same kind of thing. Everybody knows that name and go, oh, yeah, that's the phone I had 20, 30 years ago that
this is the company,
probably still works today,
This is the company that invented the cell phone.
Right. I mean, they have a huge history behind them. So it's kind of sad to see that name being watered down the way it is.
And that's the thing. It's just the name. Motorola, the company back then, no longer exists. Google ripped them apart, sold off what they didn't want, and now they're the IBM ThinkPad.
It's Lenovo's
of the
US
2010s.
arm.
Yeah, it's just a mess.
I mean, it's basically, so Lenovo bought them in 2014, right? Lenovo had zero
That
presence
long
in the
ago.
US. Yeah, it was that. I actually looked it up for this article, and I was like,
Goodness.
wow, it was that long ago? Holy crap. Anyway, so yeah, they had no presence in the US effectively as far as smartphones are concerned. They really had no hope of getting a US presence, and I don't think they even do now if you don't count the Motorola name. But, if you look at the market share that I sort of highlighted in this article, just at the end of last year, only 3% of smartphones shipped in the US are Motorola branded. As of just, Q2 of this year, that's up to 12%. And in that time span, you had, LG is no longer making smartphones. So that's out of the picture. They obviously shipped a ton of low-end and mid-range phones like the Stylo and things like that, right? So those are pretty much gone. And those are all like, you go into a T-Mobile store or whatever, and I only have $300 to buy a phone. Well, you're probably going to get an LG phone, right? So nowadays, well, LG's not here, so you'll get a Motorola phone instead. And then, of course, you had the other, maybe more on the unlock side, you had Huawei and ZTE and some of these other companies that have either been removed from the market because they're now designated as national threats by the government or some other reason that they're not making phones or they're not selling them in all the channels they can. Because you can still buy a ZTE phone at Walmart, right? But there's probably not as many people looking for a ZTE phone.
Yeah.
If they're going to look at Motorola versus ZTE and it's the same $200, they're probably going to pick Motorola because they know the name.
Right. ZTE is no longer the white label powerhouse for like Cricket
Right.
and Boost that they used to be.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see TCL overtaking most of that stuff just because so many people have TCL TVs that they spent $200 on and are happy with.
And at that point, I wouldn't be surprised to see TCL overtake Motorola in market share.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this pans out beyond this year because I think, again, this isn't really anything that Motorola has done specifically. It's sort of just happened to them. And it'll be interesting to see this time next year if they still are number 3, if they haven't changed anything. But go ahead.
I was going to say, I know they told you that, they have these plans. They're all the companies do it about how they're going to be great again, to use that term.
Right.
I don't believe that. I believe that they were just happy to ride the coattails and ride that wave of watching as one company dies, our market share gets a little higher.
Yep.
And they're probably just cheering on to see other companies die instead of trying to innovate themselves out of the number 3 is kind of misleading. It's a hole. It's what, 20 percentage points behind Samsung?
Right. Yeah, it's a fair bit behind Samsung.
It's they sell barely more phones than Google does. So there you go. We all know how few phones Google sells, and Motorola is only selling a percentage point or 2 more. So it's not like a huge number of people are rushing out to buy a Motorola phone. So I don't believe them when they tell us about these plans they have.
Yeah, and I think it's also worth noting, I guess, again, going for the whole, it's not like they really did much. Phones that were released this year were planned last year, maybe even in
Right.
2019, depending on which phone we're talking about, right? So these aren't decisions that were made back in April when LG cut loose and everyone was like, "Oh, hey, let's release 5 new phones to take LG's spot in the market." No, that's not how it works, right? These phones that are coming out were planned last year. So again, this sort of happened to them. And then I guess the question now is, will we see a proper flagship from them? One that's actually interesting, right? Next year.
Well, I think all the rumors point to one. I don't know how interesting it'll be because at the end of the day, it's from Motorola. It's just got better specs. It's still a Motorola phone that, it's a crapshoot. Are the bugs going to get fixed or are they not going to get fixed?
Right.
That's not the way to do it. Make your flagship, do that, and then pump resources into it. Go into debt. And that's how Samsung got where it is.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if they were serious about wanting to become a big flagship manufacturer again, I think you're right. We would see them doing something differently, but I really don't think they are.
What puzzles me the most, Nick, is they had that sweet partnership with Amazon. I wonder what happened to that relationship. Do you think Amazon just, this isn't working for us, or, they just couldn't come together on a way to do it? Because it wasn't, 2 or 3 years ago, you could go buy those unlocked Alexa-powered phones made by Motorola and LG, and, they were the same phone. They just had ads, and they were super cheap. And
right.
now it's just not a thing anymore.
Yep. Your parrot.
Yeah, I'm sorry. She has a mind of her own. She wants to be on the podcast.
I figured I would just let everybody know what that was.
Yeah,
it's not a child.
Not
She
a
learned
child.
that, but it's not really a child. It's a bird trying to act like one.
Yes.
What I'd like to see is, we've lost LG. I'd like to see Motorola turn into the next LG. Not disappear. Sorry, Derek.
Right.
But I'd like to see, Motorola has, the name, and they have TCL with they're a bigger company than many people may realize. They've got the money and they've got the history. I'd like to see them take some chances and build some products. And they did the Razr, and it had some great things about it that they didn't continue to support it. They did what they've done with their budget phones, and they pulled the same thing on their crazy foldable Razr. But I'd like to see them, like, they could be a company that has the history and the know-how to actually produce unique and quality products. If they could just back the thing.
The Razr is what really was my final straw with Motorola. Yeah, it wasn't great, but neither was the first Fold.
No.
Motorola could have doubled down, fixed what was wrong with it, because I really wanted one.
Yes.
I still love the way they look. It's just, I'm never going to buy one because of the company that makes it.
It's like that TCL flip phone that got, they canceled at the last minute because the Flip 3 just was going to blow it completely out of the water.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Motorola definitely needs to, I would love to see them come out with another flagship, like a true, they released something, I think it was a G200, but
Yes.
it's only in Latin America and Europe. And it's got the Snapdragon 888 Plus, but it's got an LCD panel, which is meh. But I just want to see Motorola do something other than what it's doing.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen that come to North America. I'm with you.
Right. That thing basically seems like the Edge, but with a better processor, at least based on the specs that I read on it.
The better processor, though, today, that means better photographs, better audio, better everything.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing. When I was using the Edge and I reviewed it, the phone itself is fine. It's fast. I mean, it uses, I forget which processor, one of the Snapdragon 700 processors, right? It's got a 144 hertz screen. It's an LCD, but at 144 hertz, whatever. It's fine. The cameras themselves, at least on a spec sheet, they look really good. But then when I started taking pictures of it, they didn't look really good anymore. right? Like even with a lot of the things that Motorola has fixed in the camera part of the software over the years, they just, I don't know, that I don't see those doing well when priced against something like a Pixel, where you're basically getting, more or less the same phone experience, but with a way better camera. And something like the Edge is impossible to recommend next to a Pixel. And in most cases, you're going to find a Pixel for way less money too. You get like a 4A or something, or 5A or whatever,
Yeah, but the difference there is you can buy a Motorola phone. A Google phone, you have to get a pre-order in as soon as they announce it, or you have to wait 6 weeks.
Yeah, but would you recommend?
That's the problem.
Would you recommend something like the Edge over a 4A, 5A?
No.
Oh, hell no.
So
wait 5 weeks.
Exactly. So even those, like a 4A, you're not going to have that much of a wait. And aside from a cost part of it, and then you got the cameras on top of it, and you have software support.
Right, and the support is something that I feel like whenever I talk about phones, I almost always forget to mention that, at least from the get-go, because at least being a Pixel user for a while, and now being a Samsung user, I'm just used to it. I'm used to having those updates, and it's not a big deal anymore. Whereas 5 years ago, that was the first thing everyone talked about when they were looking for a new phone. They're like, oh, will I even get the next version of Android? Who knows? It's that problem has been fixed with so many manufacturers, but not as much with Motorola. They still are updating, and like you said, with a $200 phone, how much support can you really hope for beyond security updates after you spend $200 on a phone? Because $200 now is not what it bought you 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever. This is much cheaper phone.
But updates means a lot more than the next version of Android or a security patch.
Yes, correct. Because like you said, with bug fixes.
Yeah, look at the Pixel 6. What, we've had 3 updates since it was released? Well, that's what they say. I haven't gotten this last one.
I haven't got the latest one either. We'll talk about that in a bit.
But they, relatively minor things. The phone always worked. It was just convenience things that were broken. They quickly got them patched. What if they hadn't? Then 3-4 months from now, they still hadn't. What do you do then? You're not going to get your money back. There's nothing you can do except deal with it.
Pretty much. Yep. And I guess the last thing I want to say about Motorola is they are purportedly doubling their R&D money, which I don't really think that means anything for next year, but maybe 2023 we'll see some interesting stuff from them.
So they're going to spend $6 instead of $3.
That's right. No, I don't know.
You got there before me, Jay.
I'm just.
Yeah, I don't know.
I hope they double down hard. I want them to get back to where they used to be.
Yeah, and it would be nice because I liked the idea of the Moto Z, right? I mean, that one maybe didn't pan out for one reason or another, but like
that phone was so cool.
Yeah,
I went to that launch event. That phone, yes. I still miss that phone.
Yes, that's one of like my favorite, I don't know, unique phones over the years. It was awesome. I loved the concept. They didn't really do a whole lot with the modular thing, but maybe they can do better next time, And then, of course, like you said, with the Razr, everybody knows a Razr. A lot of people want a Razr. It just has to not suck.
Yeah, the last Motorola phone I used was a Moto Z Play 2. It was my phone for my day job. And once they finally upgraded me to what I have now, which is a Galaxy S10, the first thing I did is I got to keep the Z Play 2. So I went and found some of the modules, the Moto mods, after they'd been out for 3 years. And now I've got a projector and a speaker, and the little projector we take us when we go on our camping trips, and we watch movies outside of our camper with the Moto Z Play 2 and the Moto mod projector on it.
I love it. Yeah, it's just it's such a cool concept. I want to see them do that stuff again. So please, Moto, please do it again. All right, software updates. Now we're on to Samsung. One UI 4 just launched on the Galaxy S21. So if you've got a Galaxy S21 and you somehow have not gotten it yet, you should be getting it momentarily. And then Samsung also revealed the update schedule. So we're talking Galaxy S21, like I said, right now. Next month in December, the Z Fold 3 and the Z Flip 3 are getting One UI 4, and this is the Android 12 based version of, I don't know, what do we even call these anymore? Flavor of Android, version of Android? What is the terminology anymore?
Who knows?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Skin. I'm like, I can't even keep track anymore. Like, what words do we not want to use that are like offensive or gross sounding anymore for these things?
I guess
Samsung's
the right way
interface.
That's right. Samsung's interface. Okay, I like that.
Yeah, well, One UI 4 built atop of Android 12 Core.
Beautiful.
Would be the way I would describe it, but that's way too long to say.
Yeah, whatever. One UI 4 is coming out. There you go.
There
so
you
yeah,
go.
this year's foldables, December, and then the Galaxy S20, Note 20, Note 10, and last year's foldables are going to be in January. We have a whole list. I'm not going to go through all of them on the site, so check it out if you have an older Samsung device than that, and you'll be getting that soon. But I know I've been using the One UI 4 on the S21 for a little while here. It's not my daily driver, so I can't speak too much to it. But I really like what Samsung has done, because like in the first beta, there was not a whole lot of color changing going on, but I feel like as it went on and now with the final release, you definitely have some of that Material U look in there without actually looking like Material U, right? Which is fine, because I've found a surprising number of people that hate the look. Like some people are really adamant about, oh, it's disgusting. I hate it. I want it off my phone. I've been really surprised at like how strong the opinions are on that design. So I get, okay, on the quick toggles, right? You pull your notification shade down. You typically have 6, maybe 8 on some phones, something like that. On Android 12 on a Pixel, you only have 4, which is not great.
It's strange because, I mean, the Pixel, especially the Pro, it's as big as a sheet of plywood. I mean, that thing's huge. You would think they could put 15 of them up there, but they also have to be huge because the screen density is so tight. If they were normal, you wouldn't be able to read them. So, nobody wants to bring their phone close to their face. You want to know what it is from an arm's length. So,
Yeah.
I don't know how you fix it, but it wasn't like this.
I'm looking at mine now, and the text isn't, I mean, other than before, it was just the icon. Now they have the word internet beside the little icon. But the text isn't necessarily big and bold, and there's a lot of white space to the right of that word internet and flashlight and Bluetooth. Like they could condense that bound, put the word underneath the symbol, shrink that white space out of it, and add another row of icons.
No, what I meant was if you go in, like for the people that are old and don't see well, and bump the UI scaling up, there needs to be room to make those letters bigger.
I see. Yeah.
So I think that's why they're so huge. That's my guess. I mean, either that or, maybe that was Open Bar Friday, the day they designed that or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. And that, in any case, Samsung did not adjust the sizing, at least that I can recall. Of course, I don't have my S21 with me right now, but I'm looking at my Fold 3, and far as I can recall, it's pretty similar. At the very least, it is not 4. It is much more than 4. It's at least 6 on the One UI version of Android 12, which I know will make several people happy. And then I also really like the way Samsung did the color picking for the wallpaper, because I feel like it's a little bit better than what Google did. There's at least a 5th option, and I like the way it picks colors better. I think my favorite, and I'm trying to remember which manufacturer it was. I think it was Oppo. Theirs, you can actually pick, like you tap on the part of the wallpaper you want to extrude the colors from, and it gives you a selection based on that, versus, with most of these Google's and Samsung's versions, you set a wallpaper and it just decides for you, like, okay, well, we think this is primarily blue, so here's a bunch of blues and maybe like a green or something like that goes with it that would be semi-complementary.
I had to stop using my S21 when the first beta landed because Project Fi, and when they tried to add eSIM, it just busted everything.
Okay.
Now that it's complete, does it give you more than one option of color swatches to choose from, like Google does? Or does it just pick the colors it thinks are best and apply them?
I'd have to look. I think it just picks them.
I actually like that better. I know user choice is a good thing, but 9 times out of 10, somebody who's actually went to school for, design and knows how to do this is going to be able to program it to pick the right colors and just let it happen.
Yeah.
Just lay back and let it happen.
Yeah, I like the idea of what Nick said that Oppo's doing, like the kind of a combined of giving the consumer a little more of a control. Like, hey, okay, pick where you would like to pull colors from, and we'll give you the best colors that complement that area the best.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good way to meet in the middle, especially depending on, what background you have on your phone. So I would like to try that and see if I could break it, make it ugly and horrible. I'll bet I could.
Probably could.
You could do it.
It'd be pretty fun. All right, so we're gonna take a quick break. I should have taken one earlier, but we'll be right back and we'll talk some Pixel stuff.
Research is an essential part of my work and my life. In order to present our readers with the best Pixel 6 cases, I need to make sure they're well made and long lasting. If your search to find the right people for your team is turning up nothing, there's another way to do it. If you're hiring, you need Indeed. Indeed is an unbelievably powerful hiring tool you can use to attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Don't struggle to find high-quality candidates on your own. Indeed helps you hire the right people right now. It'll even guide you through every step of the hiring process, from finding talent with the needed skills through instant match, assessments, and virtual interviews. After all, there's nothing worse than going through a great resume and a wonderful interview before realizing that a candidate isn't trained on the systems that you use. Training that can often take months that you don't have. Assessments let star applicants shine with tests for everything from coding to cooking. You pick what skills you want tested, and Indeed will give you a clear view of the talent's abilities. This also frees up time during the interview because you already know what skill level they already have, so you can spend more time talking about what matters to you and your team. Get started right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/ACP. Get a $75 credit at Indeed.com/ACP. Indeed.com/ACP. Offer valid through December 31st. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Alrighty, we're back. And Pixel 6. So we got a couple new issues that are maybe been identified. So the first one is network speed, right? So apparently, at least based on several tests we've seen and our own conclusions as well, the Pixel 6 and the Pro, I guess specifically, falls a bit short on 5G speeds when compared to the Galaxy S21. So in this particular set of tests, this was actually done by PC Mag in this article, the S21, in many cases, really handily beat it. So you're talking like in one of the tests, the Pixel 6 pulled, that's a gig down, which is nuts. Okay, like I don't even know what to say about that. But then the S21, then the S21 went and pulled 2.3 gigs. Okay, all right, well, do you really need 2.3 gigs? I don't know. But the fact that it's more than twice as fast, and at least a few of these examples is, I don't think worrisome is the right word, but it's definitely a little strange.
I know when we were, looking at what PC Mag did and wanted to check it out ourselves, my wife uses an S21 as well. I use T-Mobile, and I'm in a weird spot where it's sub-6 5G plus mid-band if your phone supports it. There is a big difference between the S21 and the Pixel 6. I've not even looked. I don't know if the 6 Pro even supports mid-band the way T-Mobile's using it. If not, that explains it. The speed differences, but it's also the connection strength. That's more concerning to me than the speed.
Right.
I mean, on sub-6 5G, my Pixel 6 Pro is, 16, 18 megabits per second, but that's by no means fast. That's plenty fast enough for what I need. And, a Samsung phone without the mid band is maybe going to be 28, 30. That's twice as fast. That's probably makes a difference to a lot of people. To me, it doesn't. I don't download big, huge things with my phone, so I really don't care. But the connection strength, you walk in the door, and on the Pixel 6, if I walk into the door of my house, the connection drops. Not just the little indicator at the top. You can actually go in with apps that measure and give you the raw numbers. Your connection strength drops considerably, whereas on the Samsung phone, it doesn't drop nearly as much. So that's a little more concerning to me than the speeds.
I would agree. Because, yeah, I mean, like we said, the result I gave was the top result. Most of these are in the double digits, right? But even a lot of those are like, the Pixel 6 Pro got 37 megabits down, and the S21 got 94 in one of these examples. Again, that's means, cherry picking, but still.
But that means more than 1.5 gigabytes to 2.5 because...
Yes. Yeah, that's where you actually feel it, okay?
Well, I guess your phone doesn't... The internal bandwidth and the electronics isn't fast enough to keep up with 1.5 gigabytes per second. So at that point, it doesn't matter. Ignore those tests. That's stupid. Just as stupid as all these carriers telling you you're going to get 3 gigabytes per second. No, you're not. You might get that network speed, but your phone's going to throw half of that data away because it couldn't process it and re-download it.
And then you'll hit your data cap and it'll be, a 20th of that speed anyway, so whatever.
Right. But the difference between 10 megabits per second and 50 megabits per second is
very
something that
very
could
noticeable.
affect you. Yeah. Depending on how you use your phone.
Right. So I feel like that's just going to be a hardware thing. I don't know if they can fix that in software.
I think that's a Qualcomm thing.
Yeah.
Qualcomm got in early. They own it. The way they charge people. I mean, I wouldn't want to pay an extra $300 for my 6 Pro just so it could license Qualcomm tech.
No.
Screw them.
Yep, pretty much.
Samsung can get it figured out eventually. This is their first real try in North America. And, maybe it's not great, but it's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, for the most part, these speeds, you might notice them, but I don't know that most people are really going to care. It's not enough. And going on that with the next sort of Pixel 6, I suppose, topic, right, is it's the charging speed.
Sorry, real quick, Nick, I just got a question. Jerry might be able to answer this, or you as well. I'd be curious to see, because a lot of the Samsung Exynos phones, like, we don't get those in the US. Right. I'd be curious if we could use an S21 Exynos model in the US, or a Pixel 6 Pro and an Exynos S21, and see if they have similar performance.
I saw somebody speeds commenting on this. I think it was maybe at The Verge. They're in Europe, and they did that exact test: sub 6 Exynos versus Tensor. No measurable differences.
Cool. I was just wondering. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So charging speed, right? This has been, I don't know. Since
poor messaging.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
Well, there's a lot of things that are poor messaging with this phone right now. Screen protectors and all that as well. But charging speed, right? So that new Google charger says 30 watts on the Pixel 6. Jeez. The Pixel 6 spec sheet. There we go. Get all the S's out. It says 30 watts, and that's really for the Pro, right? So once you hook up these chargers, well, they don't really do 30 watts. They do more like 23, 22. And even then, that's only on the first 50%. And then past that, it drops off a cliff, right? It goes way slower. And I know we ran an article a while ago where basically is like 10 minutes difference between the 18 watt and the 30 watt chargers, which means don't bother with 30 watt chargers, especially if it costs way more. It just doesn't make sense. So, Google finally issued a statement about this. They have a little blog post sort of detailing what they're doing. At the end of the day, though, it's still slower charging than the S21, which was 25 watt. And a lot of people kind of hemmed and hawed about that when you have, other phones doing 65 watt, 100 watt, some crazy Xiaomi phones doing 200 watt, there are some nutso numbers out there. And this thing's like, a fifth, half, something like that of a lot of these other flagship phones. And it takes, I don't know, 2 something hours sometimes to charge a Pixel 6 Pro to full if it's all the way empty, because you hit that 50%, which I think their point was 50% is fine when you're just topping up. If you're charging from 0 to 100%, you probably don't care that it takes 2 hours anyway. They would rather have your battery last 3 or 4 years, or however long it's going to last, versus, hey, we're going to dump the wattage in this thing and kill your battery in a year and a half. So
yeah, but like I said last week, Huawei or Oppo and OnePlus and Xiaomi, they figured it out.
Right.
I expect Google, the $2 trillion company, to be able to figure it out too.
Yeah, and I don't want to rehash the same conversation too much, because I don't really want to spend too much time on it. But yeah, they have acknowledged it is I guess we'll say a problem, right? And
well, no, it was just poor messaging again today. If you read the thing, first off, they said using the 30-watt Google charger. No. Using a 25-watt cheapo charger you can buy from Amazon can fit right in there where they say to use the 30-watt Pixel charger.
Right. Because again, it doesn't even do 30 watts anyway.
Right. It's just, it is how it is. It was done this way to get you the first half quickly and to not burn your battery up by overheating it later. It's never going to change. It's never going to be any better. Yes, we released a new charger, and yeah, it's 30 watts because building a 25-watt charger is stupid. It costs as much as a 30-watt charger, but you don't really need it. Right. That's what Google, needed to find a better way to say than the horrible way I just said it.
I mean, you didn't really do any worse than them.
Is it just me, or is this I feel like this is completely not a problem at all? Because
no, it's not.
I get through the day with the Pixel 6 Pro that I have. The battery life is better than any phone that I've had other than my iPhone 12 Pro Max from last year.
I would agree.
So I don't ever worry about a quick top off, because I still have 30 to 40% at the end of the day, unless I'm I just got back from the honeymoon, so that killed the battery because my camera was open the entire time. But that's not a normal circumstance.
Yeah, and I said as much in the review about battery life. The battery life in that phone is crazy for me. But some other reviews, I think MKBHD, right, that they had issues where I don't remember what he cited, but I recall that being hey, the battery life's not great on this phone, and that was kind of weird to me. And I've seen it in several other places too.
It's the best battery in a phone I've ever had.
Yeah.
So, well, that's what I was going to say. If this is the biggest problem that we have to deal with for a Pixel phone, considering some of the things we've dealt with in the past, this is a pretty great problem to have to deal with for our Pixel phone. And then when you just look at it as a phone amongst other phones, yeah, I agree with you guys. My Pixel 6 Pro has been great. My Z Fold 3 that I used before that, and my OnePlus 9 before that, it dipped down really quick throughout the day, and I had
the Fold 3 doesn't
fast.
Count. Come on, that battery is way too small. You can't count that.
Yes, it is. It's definitely not the best battery.
Even if I don't open the phone, but then we're making all kinds of concessions here. But yeah, if this is the biggest problem we have to deal with for the phone, and I don't know, it's a non-problem really.
Right. I think the only real issue that I've had with the phone is the fingerprint scanner. And even then, it hasn't been atrocious. It's not to the point where I don't want to use the phone. It is annoying. But for the most part, I don't have, a host of issues with it. Whereas I have seen some other people that are I want to throw this thing against the wall. I hate using it. I can't unlock it ever.
Yeah, I wonder, though, if those are the people that have a $4 vinyl screen protector from Best Buy off the clearance rack.
Could be.
I mean, that's going to make a big difference with all new phones.
Right.
Well, and I've got, like I said, my work phone that I have now is a Galaxy S10. Again, it's an old phone, but that has one of the first ultrasonic fingerprint readers that Samsung used. That is worthless to use. I have 0 point. I never use it. I disabled it because it was so terrible. And the Pixel 6 Pro, yeah, it's definitely slower than the my OnePlus 9 that I use, But I before, like before I even had my phone, I had ordered a screen protector off of Amazon. And it's some LK, whatever brand this is. It's great, honestly. Like it's slow, but it's not the screen. I don't think that my fingerprint reader is any slower than from what everybody's saying. It seems like it's about as fast as everybody else's. But the screen protector is not on Google's approved list, and it works just fine. It's slower than the 9, but it's still fine.
Well, I mean, Google explained why it's slower, and that is just the nature of the beast. It's slower because it needs more data to verify that it's really your finger.
Right.
At least until you get this update that people like Nick complaining so much, now my phone's less secure than it used to be. Thanks, Nick.
Have any of you received that update yet?
I have not.
No, I be honest, I haven't even checked. It'll get here when it gets here.
I've been spamming the button since I wrote the article. I still don't have it.
Of course, it came like right after I got back from my trip to Disney, where I had to deal with the somewhat slower fingerprint scanner. But I got it yesterday, I think.
Is it any better?
Yep. I don't know what they did. I don't care what they did. It's marginally faster. But I didn't have the problems everybody else had. It's like the battery thing. Like I didn't have those problems. Yes, it's slower. Yes, it's not quite as accurate, even when you like register the same fingerprint multiple times. But whatever they did in the latest update definitely fixed something.
I'm sure they just decreased the number of positive data points it needs to be a match. That would be the easy fix, and
that actually makes a lot of sense if that was the case.
It was probably complete overkill what Google was doing anyway. It's Google. They think that, okay, well, this security is good enough. Let's make it 10 times more.
Yeah,
isn't this the same thing we dealt with on one of the early OnePlus phones? Like, wasn't it the in-screen fingerprint reader? Wasn't it slow? And people complained that it was too slow, or they got too many false. Like it didn't read. Like it kept saying "try again," and they did an update, and that we come to find out that they just kind of made it less secure to make it faster.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that. It was, and I don't, without knowing the specifics of what was done on each of these phones. It's like I don't know if both of them did this for an okay reason. Like, Is it terrible now? Like, is it way too easy to fool? I don't know. I'd love to see.
I'm sure it's not.
Probably not. No.
I mean,
it's much easier to fool the face recognition from a front-facing camera at the very least, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can fool anything. I mean, you can take a brand new iPhone and fool Face ID even on someone asleep if you just put a pair of glasses on them with black dots drawn in the center. If you really want to fool it, you can fool it.
Right.
I just, it's a convenience thing. It's somebody steals your phone and they can't get it unlocked because your fingerprint's in there. They're just going to throw it away. And that's a whole lot better than them stealing all the money out of your bank account.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right, last two little things I want to talk about. So we have there was a Google camera update that went out. It added some of the Pixel 6 camera features to older Pixel phones, right? So you have like the timer light, which is handy. I think it's been on several other phones, but it's nice to have. You've got your manual exposure controls, and then some, quick setting swipe gestures that are nice. I love seeing these little things brought back to older phones by Google. That was like when they added astrophotography from, when it came out in the Pixel 4, and they had it on some other phones. Maybe it's not as good of a feature on the older phones because it's missing some hardware requirement. But for the most part, these little things aren't anything like that. This is just software tweaks and stuff that they've made. So it's good to see Google updating these things, keeping them, with feature parity, at least to some extent, and not making people regret the fact that they might have just bought a phone 2 months ago. And, instead of waiting a month or something and spending an extra $100 on this other phone like that. Now they probably are like, okay, well, cool. I have these little features. This is nice to see. And then the same kind of goes for Samsung and some of their older watches, the Galaxy Watch, the Active 2, and the Watch 3. They've added like hard fall detection and a couple of other things that were exclusive to the Galaxy Watch 4 that launched in August. and this most recent update added those to the older watches. And I don't know if any of you have these older watches, or if you've played around with the updates at all.
I've got a Active 2. My wife's been wearing. I'll have to check it. I haven't actually looked at it to see any of the changes, but I'll have to check that out.
Cool, yeah, and it's a couple of new watch faces and stuff too.
Yeah, mentioned on the Google camera, and regretting buying a phone a few months back that I the camera features. I mentioned my wife, I was like, hey, you should be seeing some changes in your camera. She has a Pixel 5, and you'll see just a couple of changes. Just don't freak out next time you use it. But the Pixel 6 is actually, the 6 Pros is almost made me regret getting it because of the camera features, because my wife's like, hey, I took this picture of the kids, but there's somebody walking in the background. Can you go ahead and erase that for me?
Oh no.
And so because it has Magic Eraser, I've been commandeered to use that multiple times. She's like, hey, that looks weird. Erase that out of there. Hey, can you fix that for me? I'm like, oh God, just take it.
Oh man, that's fascinating. It'll be interesting to see if they port Magic Eraser to Google Photos at some point, even to some capacity. I think you were surmising that at one point, right, Jerry?
Maybe. I don't really see them porting Magic Eraser back to older Pixels because the processing power.
Well, I wonder, could they do that as a Google Photos feature, but like they did for some of their editing things, make it a paywall thing behind Google One?
Well, yeah, it's
cloud-based.
That's what I was thinking.
More, it's is Google willing to build that functionality into a server somewhere? And are you willing to let Google scan and actually, bit for bit copy your photographs to do that? The first, Google would probably be willing to add the functionality in the cloud somewhere. I don't think that users would be willing to do the second and know that Google is potentially keeping an actual physical backup copy of their photographs.
Yeah, well, that makes me wonder though, like, is that much different than people being okay with them doing facial recognition and like remembering faces? Like you're telling them, this is my wife, this is my kid, remember these faces for me.
Right.
I mean, I didn't know people were okay with that. I thought everybody hated that as much as I did.
I don't know. I could see them doing it just because we've had this happen before, like you were saying with the paywall and Google One. But typically with a lot of these features, like Google Assistant, it starts off on the cloud because they don't have the local processing power to do it.
Right.
Whereas this started off locally. I don't know if they would move to the cloud. So and I can't recall if there's any examples of it going that way or not.
I'm sure it doesn't take a lot of processing power because, you do it on the phone, it just kind of does it and doesn't take forever.
Right.
But it's using a processor that was designed to be able to do that quickly. And that's not in any other phone right at the moment. So I think that's the hurdle. Maybe the Pixel 4 could do it okay. I honestly don't think the Pixel 5 or any of the A series phones could do this easily.
Not locally, no. It would take too long.
Because they're missing the neural core or whatever, the Pixel Visual Core.
They're missing some sort of coprocessor that was built and specifically trained using the machine learning, algorithms to do this kind of thing. Those just aren't present in like the Pixel 5 or the 4a 5G. The 4 had something. We don't know exactly what that neural core did, and the 3 had the visual core. So maybe it could do it. I don't know. But, it's just the Pixel 6 was designed with this in mind.
Right. Yeah. And that's part of the magic in that, I guess, right?
But wasn't Google Photos designed to do that back on the Pixel 2 when they first introduced Magic Eraser and then never released it?
Maybe. I mean, but
Maybe.
That might have been a cloud thing.
Yeah.
Right. And who knows? Maybe if they bring it to the cloud, it does it even better. Because that's the thing is
Sure.
like that one they showed off back in 2017 is way more powerful than what we have in this one.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe that's the end goal. This was the stopgap. Hey, we want to finally release this feature. It's not to the full extent that we originally said it was, but we'll maybe call it something slightly different and sell it different because,
To
we're
me, this
planning
is
on
better.
doing. Yeah, I don't disagree,
I
but
I don't want the cloud to need all that information from me. I mean, I know a lot of people think, well, Google Photos, Google's scanning all your photographs. No, they're not. They probably could, but they're not. That's just a dumb waste of time and money. But if you wanted to do something like this in the cloud, then yeah, it totally has to scan the photograph. And I'm just not okay with that. I like it that my phone can do it, even if it can't do it quite as well.
Yeah, I'm good with it too. I like the current model. All right, cool. So we are at the end of our show. We're going to talk about what's making us happy. So, Chris, why don't we start with you?
Well, currently there's the thing that's making me happy the most is I'm getting into 3D printing. I've always kind of thought it was cool from afar and never really got into it because it was expensive and seemed like it was a really complex process to start on. And I've, over the last year or so, I've kind of slowly been researching it and trying to figure out if it's something I actually want to pull the trigger on. And my wonderful wife bought me a resin 3D printer, an SLA printer, for my birthday. And so I started playing with that and then getting into that more and more. And then I got the opportunity to check out a filament printer from a company called FlashForge, and it is perfect for a beginner. I got a review coming shortly of it, but it's amazing. I've been having a lot of fun making it between gadgets for myself, little carabiners, box openers, and little figurine fidget things, and then toys for my kids. I've made expanding lightsaber swords and stuff like that from it, and I've got literally zero experience in this aside from getting this first printer, and it's been a lot of fun learning it and tweaking it and finding out ways to make it better. So it's been a lot of fun. My family's had fun with it too.
Chris actually sold me one of those. When he told me about it, I looked it up. I didn't know it existed, and it was so cheap. For an enclosed heated bed FDM, printer of the quality it is, and it's not the greatest printer in the world. It's very cheap. And it can also print the things that we probably shouldn't be talking about. It can print not just PLA. It can print hardened things that you want to take down to the range.
There you go. All right, Andrew, how you doing? What's making you happy?
So as I alluded to earlier, I just got back from my honeymoon this week. It was a week in Orlando, so I spent some time at Galaxy's Edge and Universal and had a wonderful time with my new wife, who will probably be listening to this, hopefully, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, that was a great time and took too many pictures with the Pixel 6 Pro, and it held up for the most part, which was adding a little bit of a tech thing to my honeymoon, which was pretty sweet.
Well,
smart
congratulations,
man, Andrew. Mentioning your honeymoon and your wonderful wife and your making you happy.
Especially since you said she might be listening.
She was getting ready to leave for work today. She's like, "So is this going to be live?" I'm like, "No, you don't need to listen to it right now. It's okay. I'll let you know.
It'll be up soon enough. Don't worry. It's cool."
Yeah.
All right, Jerry.
Okay,
now you can go.
Everybody get in the hate train, because what's making me happy is Skyrim. Yes, Skyrim runs on everything, even LG electronic smart refrigerators.
That's right.
But they just had their 10th anniversary upgrade. And yes, it's the Creation Club. Yes, everybody hates it. Yes, I hated it too. But man, I got all that stuff for $20. I got $300 worth of individual updates for $20. And you know what? I was kind of dumb for hating them all. Some of them are pretty damn cool. I've been just having fun in Skyrim again. And God, who would have thought 10 years ago that this is a game that people would still be not only playing, but buying again in 2021?
Not just again, but probably for the 10th time, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I bought Skyrim for consoles I don't even own anymore. So it's, they sucked my money out, and they found a way to suck it at $20 out of me again. And heck, I'm glad I did it. I've been having tons of fun. And if you like to play a lot of Skyrim, or if for some crazy reason you've never played it before, it's still totally worth buying in 2021.
That's me, Jerry. I've never played it.
Oh, well,
or you can
dude,
just download Halo Infinite for free and play that, because I've also been doing that instead of wasting time on a 10-year-old game.
yeah, but Skyrim's
Ouch.
a lot better game than Halo Infinite. I've played both.
I will agree to disagree with you, Jerry.
Well, see, that's because you just are wrong.
And I
No, it's because I respect you and I'm not going to argue with you.
Well, you should argue with me, but you're still wrong.
I would recommend playing it in VR, but yeah, that wasn't actually what
No,
was
don't
making
play
me
Skyrim
happy.
in VR.
Shut your
Don't.
face.
It sucks in VR.
No, it doesn't. Get out of here.
Yes,
Now,
it does.
Wait, hold on. Let's say this. Skyrim sucks in VR vanilla as much as vanilla Skyrim sucks on a flat screen. You have to mod that crap, make it good, or else
But
the game's
no.
garbage.
I've been playing without
I
any
said it.
mods, and you know what? It's not as bad as I used to think it was.
That's I don't know. I have never liked Elder Scrolls Combat. I've never been able to get into that series because of it. The only one that even had me remotely interested was like a heavily modded VR version that added in like proper VR mechanics and a lot of the stuff that actually made sense if they spent more than 5 minutes on the port. But whatever.
Maybe. My Skyrim VR is, what do you mean? I got to put this white dot there and click, and it makes me, this is stupid.
Exactly.
And I just took the headset
5-minute
off.
port, man. It was not a good port. But yeah, you
Right.
mod the crap out of that thing just like the regular flat screen version, and man, you can make it sing. It can be awesome. All right, for me, what's making me happy? I don't know. I had a hard time with this one because it's like, this is my favorite time of the year. I love Thanksgiving. I love everything around this time of the year. We're going to visit my mom. I'm excited. I'm also excited because I'm finally finishing my home office, which I've been in this house for going on 3 years now. It's been a very long process of eventually getting things together, and I'm like 95% done now, and I'm really just happy that it's almost finished. So
I'm very jealous of you.
it's
My home office is an absolute disaster. It looks like a bomb went off because of the disarray that my apartment currently is in.
It's all right. Look, I woke up this morning and there were ants down here, so it's not all fun and games.
But congrats on being lazy and taking 3 years. You are my kind of man.
Well, Nick, I guess I'm jealous. My office is literally a shed that I'm surrounded by our stored junk, as well as chicken food, cat food, dog food.
Your office looks cool. I have seen it
At
in
least
our
you'll never
meetings.
go hungry.
For sure. Yeah.
But I spend our meetings looking and trying to figure out what's on the shelf behind Chris, because he's got all kind of cool stuff there.
Oh, I've got all sorts of random things stashed behind me. I mean, I could start a home away from home in here if I needed to.
Yeah. Hey, if nothing, if you got to eat, that chicken feed has lots of protein in it, even if it's a little dry.
Well, I thought it was just like dead mealworms.
I'm sure it
they
depends on
grind
the
up.
feed you buy. I don't know. I gotta go. I gotta go buy some more after we're done here anyway. So, all right, cool. I think that wraps it up. This is episode number 551. We thank you for listening to the Android Central podcast, and thank you all for joining us. I really appreciate both Chris and Andrew filling in as Ara is taking time off, and of course Jerry for being the rock that we can all count on.
What can you smell? What the Rock is cooking?
Oh man, you went look. I love
PLA
no,
filament.
it's illegal.
That's what you
I
smell.
can't do that in Kansas.
No, it's PLA filament. That's what you're smelling right now.
That's right. Of course. All right. So you can find me on Twitter at Guanatu. Jerry, I can't remember yours. What's your Twitter handle?
GB Hill, GBHIL.
All right, Chris, what's yours?
Chris_Waddell, WEDEL.
And Andrew.
It's just Andy Myrick.
Look at that.
You and Chris make too much sense.
I know. You got to come up with something crazy like me, and then get yelled at every single week when they have to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Well, Guanatu.
That's right.
My last
All
name
right.
is hard enough to pronounce. I could just say my last name and it never gets spelled correctly ever anyway. So
That's perfect. Good deal. All right. Well, thank you all for listening, and we will see you next time. See ya.
Adios.
bye, y'all.